everything kind of sucks right now.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's my job. It's like my calling to
Literally.
create
Yeah.
art to make it a little less sucky or to
Yeah.
help things get better in any kind of capacity. So I
Hmm.
just want to like make art that matters.
Welcome to Music.gay. My guest today is Josh Shaw, aka Blvck Hippie. Josh is a Memphis-based indie rocker who's just as likely to push a boundary as they are to push a VHS into a tape machine or a skateboard onto a vert ramp. And I don't actually know that the latter one is true, but the Midwest emo skater kids that I grew up with would definitely have bumped their music. So I think that at least paints a picture for you. Josh is a beacon for outsiders with jagged edges, and their music accepts that things don't always fit in and probably shouldn't, and that the status quo might as well be as dead as the Latin in which it's written. What they intentionally avoid and finesse, they more than make up for by being earnest, poetic, and as raw as a spliff paper, and perhaps just as sticky. Their guitar cries while their voice pleads, and their music puts you up on meat hooks, while their lyrics gently flay the flesh off your weary bones. If you've ever felt like you're living in the land of the misfits, which, let's be honest, if you're listening to this podcast, you probably have a timeshare in a summer house there, then Blvck Hippie just might be your jam. Their mission is to show Black kids that they can be weird too. And let's be real, we all love weird kids here because most of us are just weird kids here. Josh has a new album. It just dropped on June 14th. It's called Basketball Camp, and it's amazing. It's as theatrical and confronting as it is comforting and sonically immense. Blvck Hippie is currently wrapping up a tour in the South and in the Midwest and some in the North as well. But you can find any upcoming shows, you can find videos, you can find great merch and music online at www.blvckhippie.com. And that's spelled BLVCKHIPPIE.com. You can also find them on Insta at Blvck Hippie, spelled the same way with the V instead of an A, 901, which I'm guessing is Memphis area code. Is that right?
Yeah. Yep.
Sick. Josh, it's so nice to get a chance to talk with you. Welcome to the show.
That was an amazing intro. I need you to like follow me around like the house every day whenever I feel down on myself. I was poetic. I was sitting there, I was like, ooh, I'm trying to blush.
You could just loop this. You could just loop this intro for yourself and you need a hype man. All right.
I will say,
or give me a call.
The skateboarding is accurate. I did used to skate back in the day.
Yeah.
My greatest claim to fame was I landed a kickflip in Urban Outfitters moccasins. That is like, that was my peak of skateboarding.
And then it was all downhill from there.
All downhill, yeah. I mean, I guess not to be punny, but it was all downhill. Like
all downhill. Yeah. Love that. All right, so let's jump into this, right? Let's say I'm like a booking agent or I don't know, someone at a new label that you want to get affiliated with, and we're stuck on an elevator together. We're going up to the penthouse suite, and we got like, a couple minutes, and I ask you, so Josh, tell me, what is it that you do?
What I do is I create art for outsider Black kids and anyone else that feels like alone and not cared about. And I package all of those emotions into a bunch of weird guitar music that doesn't really stick to any kind of like preconceived notions or genres. I just kind of just do whatever I want, and I scream live. That's pretty much the gist.
Yeah, I think that's a neat little summary right there. Yeah, it is. It's not really genred, right? Like when I hear your music, I'm like, yes, this is rock. Yes, this is indie. Yes, this is emo. Yes, what is this? Like there's little moments that you can find in other music. Like what inspired you growing up that you maybe pulled from to make the music that you're making now?
So I feel like I didn't grow up in like a musical household at all. So like, and I feel like I didn't really start listening to like my own music like that I picked until I was probably like 11 or 12. My brother got like an MP3 player, but I was like growing up on a lot of like 80s music, a lot of like old 70s like R&B, a lot of like like the Police, like Marvin Gaye, all this like a huge like eclectic group like kinds of music because my parents like listened to everything. So like I was listening to a lot of that stuff, and then when I was around 11 or 12, my brother got this small Creative Zen MP3 player, and you could record stuff off the radio and like put songs on there. So like that was around the time where I started like listening to my own music. So I was like listening to like a lot of like rap at the time, a lot of like Linkin Park, and like this like that one Japanese band that had like a show on Cartoon Network, Puffy Yumi. That was all I was jamming. And then I feel like around the time I was in high school, I started listening to like Kid Cudi, and that was like the
Mm-hmm.
first black dude I ever saw that said he was depressed and wanted to like die.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's me too, bro. It's crazy. So like I started
Yeah.
listening to Kid Cudi, and then I started listening to the Strokes in high school, and those are the two
Mm.
I feel like defining moments where I was like, I really like music, and I really want to like I was like playing piano. Like I started playing piano when I was
Mm-hmm.
like 11 or 12. I was like a classical piano player, hilariously
Yeah.
enough. And I feel like when I started listening to Kid Cudi and the Strokes was when I started being like, oh, I think I kind of want to really start listening on music. I might want to start producing music, or might want to start like writing in some capacity. I wasn't singing it or anything. I
Yeah.
wasn't writing lyrics or anything, but that was like my first kind of like, I don't know. I feel like that first moment where like that little
The
like
light bulb went
light
off.
bulb, yeah, exactly, like
Yeah.
went up, and I was like, oh, maybe I want to do something as it relates to this, but like
Yeah. So
I had no
how did you
idea or
get
like
from
map.
that right? Like how'd you get from that point into actually doing then?
So it happened like I went to college in like a smaller town, about an hour and 15, hour and a half from Memphis, in
Mm-hmm.
Jackson, Tennessee. And I was like a marketing major, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. I was like in high school, I was like playing basketball, and that's really all I cared about.
You went to
And like,
Jackson, you wanted to mess around, basically.
yeah,
Yeah.
that is. I work at Sun Studio, which is the home of Johnny Cash. So I hear that
Yeah.
song like every day at work.
Yeah.
But so I was a marketing major, didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. So I played piano for like a friend of mine at an open mic, and one of the music majors was like, "Ah, you should be a music major instead." And I was like, "I'm easily influenced. I'm 18, and I was homeschooled. I want friends. I'll do whatever." So then I was like, "Oh, maybe I'll like switch to being a music major and then figure out what my life is from there." So I did that, and then around the time into my sophomore year, we had to pick up another instrument, so I picked up a guitar and started like kind
Mm-hmm.
of like starting to write songs on there. And then I had a friend die, and then my grandma
Mm.
died, and then I went through a breakup, all kind of like
Damn.
April, May, June. And
Woof.
at the time I was like sober, so I didn't really know what to do with any of my emotions. So that was when I was like, oh, I guess I'm gonna start like writing songs. I don't know if I'll ever like I don't really know what to sing. I like sung at one open mic night, and it was like a stroke song. So
Yeah.
I was like, I think I'll just start writing about what I feel, and then kind of see where it goes from there. And then like I spent my entire first semester my junior year writing like 5 songs a day. Like I would get out of
Wow.
class, I would grab my guitar, and I would just sit out like in the most secluded place I could find on campus with a notebook, and I would just write. I knew like 4 chords, and like
Mm-hmm.
I just capoed everything. It was before I like got like really sick of guitar, so like I didn't know what I was doing. And that's
Yeah.
kind of like it kind of took that like being down that bad to kind of like force me to be like, oh, maybe let's go back to the that Strokes Kid Cudi stuff from like high
Mm-hmm.
school. Let's start like applying that into something bigger.
Nice. Yeah. And I think there's something kind of nice about having limitations too, right? Like about
Oh
only
yeah.
knowing 4 chords and then having to write something that was still interesting, right? Like
Hmm.
I know for me, I'm not a particularly great instrumentalist. So I
Hmm.
tend to write simpler stuff and then let like the band fill it out and make it more
Yeah.
interesting. But it is nice to be able to sit there in like a place by yourself and just have a guitar in hand and just like your thoughts and be able to process those things
Hmm.
and use that as, you know, therapy for yourself.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like I needed those limitations with the guitar because I feel like I said I started playing like classical piano and stuff when I was like 11. So
Mm-hmm.
like with piano at the time, I was able to get all my emotions out through playing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So like
Yeah.
I wasn't going to write any lyrics or anything like that. So it took like having an instrument that I didn't know as well forced me to be
Yeah.
like, all right, well, I have to channel all that emotion into the words as opposed to just like playing something. You know what I mean? So it
Totally.
kind of like it was the first time I actually had to like do that because I took like a songwriting class because I had to in music school. I didn't do that well, and it went terrible. So like
Mm.
I feel like I needed that to kind of like push
Yeah.
me.
The constraints, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's super important for creative people in general is just to have some sense of like, this is because we could do anything, right? If we wanted to,
exactly.
but like
Yeah,
being given that path of like, this is actually what you're capable of doing currently,
yeah,
that kind of like lets us do more creative, interesting things without getting completely lost in the weeds.
exactly.
I want to jump.
Because you have to answer to something, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I want to jump back to the idea that you didn't grow up around much music because I know that certain things probably weren't accessible to you, and we can get into it. Like
Oh
you
yeah,
grew up in basically in a cult with
yeah, yeah.
the pastor
It's
father.
yeah. So my dad was a pastor. Well, when I grew up, he was like a deacon, and then he started his own a church when I was like 11. But we grew up in it was like Seventh Day Adventist. So
Yeah.
like which is like one of like the really weird ones.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's kind of like
They're
if
all
they were
pretty
like Jehovah's
weird. They're
Witnesses.
all pretty weird, but
Yeah, but it's
it's
yeah,
Seventh Day Adventist is pretty far out there. Yeah.
pretty bigoted, pretty like closed minded and stuff like that. And I feel like it. I don't know. I always find it funny because I always say that the fun fact Prince was 7 Day Adventist. I feel like a
Yeah.
lot of those like religious constraints kind of like make your imagination wonder more because you have less
Totally.
access to things. Like even
Yeah.
with that MP3 player thing, like I think like once a month we'd have to like give our MP3 player to our parents to like make sure we weren't listening to anything that was
Oh
like
my
bad.
gosh. Yeah.
They kind of
Yeah.
they eased up on that when I was like probably like 12 or 13 really. They kind of like laid off a bit and kind of chill because my parents are cool as hell now, but like they it took a lot for them to like kind of
Yeah.
ease up out of a lot of that and help my dad leaving the old church we grew up in and kind of like starting
Yeah.
his own thing and becoming like a lot chiller because like now I talk to my dad about like drugs and everything, like it's funny.
Yeah, nice.
But
Same. It's interesting how similar our tracks are, and like I remember because I was back in the day when I was probably that age. It was CD players, right? I had like a Sony Walkman, and I would have the CDs that were out in my binder because I knew at some point inevitably my family would come and look through my shit, and
mhm,
then I had my CDs that were like tucked underneath shit or in the vents or wherever I could
yeah.
hide them. That was like the tough shit. It was like Dre and like Corn and Eminem and just weird shit that like they would not have been okay with hearing. So yeah, I get that. That's cool that you had like eventually sort of a change of scenery in the way that you're able to like communicate with your parents, and that they eased up and now you're able to like kind of have these kind of conversations with them, right?
Yeah. I'm very thankful for it. I feel like it was a rough moment getting there. I feel like the record being
Yeah.
called Basketball Camp is a good representation of that because me and my
Yeah.
dad, we were cool, but like we weren't really like close until I started like playing basketball in high school because he always took me
Mm-hmm.
to practice. So we would
Mm-hmm.
spend so much time together at the gym together and stuff like that. And that was when we kind of like I feel like grew like a really like pretty good relationship. So yeah, I'm really thankful for it. And also it took like me tripping on acid, calling my dad like a couple of, like some years ago, and I was like, "Yo, I'm tripping balls. Like, we should talk about stuff." And then
Yeah.
that really was like the final like straw where it was like, "All right, we can have this open communication and we just
Yeah.
talk about things, and I can actually like listen to your advice. I can tell you about what I'm actually going through and things of that sort."
Yeah,
But yeah,
it's
it's
amazing.
nice.
It's amazing how much that helps. I
Yeah.
had I had an experience with my dad where I gave my dad mushrooms, which was
Oh, hell
shocking
yeah.
in the first place. He knew I didn't dose him, don't worry, but
Yeah.
I gave my dad mushrooms and he fought it the whole time and kind of hated the experience. But afterwards, we had one of the most amazing conversations I've ever had with him. And
Yeah.
genuinely, to date, probably the only time I've had a conversation with him for longer than 3 or 5 minutes where he
Hmm.
wasn't then just distracted by something else. So it was like we were locked in for hours talking about
Hmm.
everything. So it's amazing. Hey, kids, do drugs and have your parents do drugs if you can. Trust us. You heard it here. Okay. So let's hop back into the music for a second, though. What is it that like you started to write your own songs? You started to in college, like have this moment where you were becoming a lyricist for the first time. Did you start playing shows shortly after? What was kind of the
Oh
track to
no.
that?
So I started writing like my first semester of my junior year is when I started writing songs. I didn't record anything. I didn't really have a plan. All I knew I was one of the classes I had to take was a recording class.
Mm,
So at the end of the semester, I had to have like a song. I'm like I had to mix some tracks they would give us. Had to master some stuff, and then one was I had to record something completely from scratch.
mm,
So I was kind of like dragging my feet on that like all semester. Like a lot of my, I was helping a lot of my friends do a lot of their recording and stuff like that, and everybody was starting like probably in like like maybe like September, October. It was doing like this first week of December, and I was really
uh-huh.
dragging my feet on it because I couldn't figure out what I really wanted to do. And then one of the things that really helped was in November, Kid Cudi dropped that grunge album, Speed and Bullet to
Mm,
Heaven, which I have. I have two Kid Cudi tattoos. I have Speed and Bullet to Heaven,
nice.
like the a stick and poke here, and then I have this giant tattoo
Oh,
here.
nice. Yeah.
But so he dropped that record and he played guitar and bass on it, and it was all like grungy, and he was screaming, and it was all the things. And I that was the first time I like seeing him make that transition. I was like, if he can do it, like I can do it. This is like a
Yeah.
blueprint for me. So I had this like really crappy red Squire Strat, and I was in my dorm
Mm,
room, and I was like, all right, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to record a song I wrote. and I've never really done that. So I did a lot of instrumentals and like produced a bunch of stuff like that, but like I'd never done a song I wrote in terms of like lyrics and stuff like that. So I plugged directly into my interface, the guitar, and I just drowned it in reverb, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna make a song. And I made this weird like intro song, and turns out that snowballed into like the first time I ever recorded an EP under the name Blvck Hippie. And it's
Yeah.
nowhere. It's like buried somewhere on Bandcamp. No one ever heard it other than like six of my friends at the time. But that was like the first
Yo,
time I actually
send
had
me
to.
a link.
I will. It's weird. It's bad. It's not good. But
No, it's
it
gonna be
was like
great though.
I'll send it after we do this for sure
Yeah.
because it's funny. So I ended up I started doing that, and then that kind of snowballed as me being like, all right, I think I want to do this like as my thing. I want to be an artist instead of
Yeah.
just like, because I was like, maybe I'll try to get in the business side of it once I graduate, or maybe I'll try
Yeah.
to be a session musician. But that was like that moment into my first semester, I was like, oh no, this is what I'm going to do for like the rest of
Yeah.
my life. So then I
What was
I
the
decided
feeling going into that? Was it like I've got something to say and so I'm gonna do this, or was it just like,
it was it was more like I don't want anyone else singing what I'm saying other than
uh
me,
huh,
because no one's gonna do it with the same amount of emotion
yeah,
and care for the words as I am. So I'm the only, if I'm gonna write, I'm the only one that can sing it. So
mm-hmm,
that was kind of like it was kind of like an ultimatum to myself of like, this is what I have to do.
yeah,
And then I changed my name to St. John for like a year or so, and started working on another EP with one of my friends who's currently in the band now, my friend Joe. And then I didn't really start playing shows till my senior year of college, like a
yo,
whole year removed from that. And some one of the music majors was putting on like a couple of times a month show in our student union of some of the music
yeah,
majors. And he heard from this one girl I was cool with that I sang and wrote music, because I didn't tell anybody I was doing this. Like,
uh,
if you weren't like an immediate friend of mine, you didn't know I was writing.
yeah,
You know what I mean? You know, I played guitar, you know, I played piano, and I
yeah,
played in
yeah,
ensemble concerts at school, but like no one knew I was writing my own music. I didn't really tell a lot of people unless we were like dating or like friends, like really
yeah,
close friends, because I was like really, I kept everything really close to the chest. So he
yeah,
was like, Josh, you should do this. And I was terrified. I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. And my parents came down and everything because they wanted to see, like, oh, like, you've never seen
yo,
Josh like sing and like play his own music. And I did it, and people liked it. And everybody was like, oh, dude, that was amazing. And I was like, oh, I can do this. And then I started
uh
like
huh,
playing open mics and stuff like that. And that's what kind of like that one moment, my first semester, my senior year, was what got me to actually start playing out instead of just like staying in my room and keeping everything to
yeah.
myself.
Instead of just playing in, yeah, that's crazy. That's so cool. What is the aspect for you that like? I mean, I know that had to be nerve wracking. Is there still an aspect of music that really makes your heart race?
Um, I don't really know anymore. I feel like for a while I was very nervous like on stage. I feel like
Yeah,
now I still get jitters, but like I feel like I've done it so much at this point that it just kind of just feels like what I do, you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
So there's like some
It's
days
like
where I just
going
like,
into work, right?
literally exactly. And like we played some like we've been on some insane tours, like opening for bigger bands. We played in front of like hundreds of people and like these
Mm-hmm.
like big like shows. And I feel like doing that so much, I feel like there's not a lot of aspect that really like makes me scared other than like not, how to put this, like not the only thing that scares me now artistically is like not living up to like my potential. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
totally, totally,
That's
totally.
like
It's an
that's the only thing I
existential
got left.
fear. It's not the
Exactly,
heart racing
exactly.
thing. It's the mind
Yeah,
racing thing.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I get that. I think we all get that at some point where we're like, damn, that was a really good record I just put out. Am I ever going to be able to put out
Oh
another
yeah,
good song? Like all those
yeah.
weird thoughts that
I
you're like, oh,
hate
just
that
keep
shit.
going. What do you love most about music right now?
I like the I like the writing and like
Hmm.
the holding up my room demoing. That's like my, I think that'll always be my favorite
Nice,
aspect of it.
nice.
Like the creating process. Like playing shows is cool. Like interacting with people on the road is fun. But like I think my favorite thing will always be just like being in my room recording. And I recorded
Mm-hmm.
the whole new record. Like that was amazing. That was like my favorite thing. I just like sat down with like a bunch of joints and like coffee, and I just like got to like tell people what to play
Yeah,
and like work on stuff and work on these parts. Like that's my favorite part. Will always be just creating.
that's cool. What do you hate most about music?
I feel like being like a black dude making alternative music from the South. is what I hate about it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like there's no connections, there's no infrastructure. I didn't go to a cool school where like everybody is playing like was playing South by or something. I didn't
Yeah.
go to one of those
Right.
like schools
Right.
where everybody, I didn't go to Berkeley. I didn't go to like a cool liberal arts school where like everybody's in like big bands like at like 2 years after they graduate. So it's like
Right.
I feel like the grind in that aspect where it's like kind of like a little unfair and a little like clicky. That's the thing I hate about it because I feel
Hmm.
like it should always just come down to like the art, but like that's never art. It's always
Yeah.
like
It's always the
it's a result of
art
like
and where it is at the time and who saw
exactly,
it and who you
yeah,
knew. And yeah, it's a
yeah.
lot
It's
of
like
things.
yeah, that's what I hate. Like that's the
Yeah.
only thing I really hate
The
about it. Everything
grind.
else is like great. Like this, all the other sucky parts I love. Like
Yeah.
I'm dog tired right now. I am dying, but like I love
Yeah.
this stuff though.
Yeah.
I'm gonna play a show in like 4 hours and it's gonna be dope and I'm
Hmm.
gonna drink a few beers and I'm gonna go to bed at like 1 a.m. and then get up tomorrow and do it again. That
Yeah.
sucks, but also it is like the greatest thing to ever do. You know what I mean? So it's like
Totally.
that's the only part I hate.
Yeah, I think you do have to fall in love with the parts that are a little unsavory to really
Yeah.
like want to do it. And I think it's easy to do that, right?
Hmm.
And it can be glamorized on one end, which it's not glamorous, but it can
Yeah.
also be like demonized on the other end. Where you're like, oh, I got to lug my equipment in and do the thing. It's like, dude, we're making fucking music and we're making people slam their bodies into each other while they're getting drunk with their friends. Like,
Yeah.
how many people get to say that? It's pretty amazing.
That's
What is it that
exactly
you
it.
want? Like, speaking of, what is it that you want an audience to feel, or what is it that you're trying to convey with your music?
I just want people to feel like what they feel and what they're going through is valid. I think that's
Mm,
what I want my music to do. Because like I feel like not all my lyrics are gonna apply to every single person, but I want the general tone and feel of it to just
mm,
be that comforting hand on your shoulder that's like, hey, I may not have experienced exactly what you're experiencing, but I understand it. I experienced similar things and you're not alone. And even if it feels like you're alone, there's always going to be at least one person who you might not even personally know that is going through the same thing
yeah,
and can like feel for that. You know what I mean? So that's what I want. I just want people to like feel okay and valid.
cool. I love that, and I think like that's a perfect segue into this song that I want to talk about with you, which is Chairman Drive. Like when I heard this song, it was definitely a song because you and I have, in some ways, very similar
Yeah.
backgrounds and upbringings, and I think that it made me feel like there was that hand on my shoulder. It's a song that's like it's about a lot of things, but it's also about your experience growing up and like reconciling what it means to have a kind of disjointed relationship with your family and what it means to like be a parent at this point. It's this kind of like the song itself is a little yearning and cinematic, and
Mhm.
it has this kind of like for me it felt like a plea for a new nostalgia, like wanting to rewrite some kind of
Yeah.
history, like a sort of prayer to a childhood that's been robbed, or I don't know, but it's like deeply personal. It's poetic at moments, it's kind of devastating, and it's got fucking horns. Like
Yeah.
it has great horns in it, which to me I was just like it felt so big and so like it felt like a giant hug from between two sad people. It was great.
Yeah.
What was the process of that? So I mean, you said you hole up in your room and you demo things, but what did this how did this song come to be? What birthed it,
Mhm.
etc.?
So, um, this song was like came from like two chord shapes. Like my drummer showed me, there are these like it's like a G shape and a C shape, but they're like it's like slightly different. And he was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, dude, look at these shapes," and I was like, "Oh, those are cool. I'll think about that later." So then I came up with a little doing a little tapping part, and I started kind of messing with it. And I was like, I want to write like this album needs like a slow song. I feel like
Mm,
everything's pretty much like punching in your face the whole
yeah.
time, and I was like, I want to kind of slow things down and like make people really feel. You know what I mean? So I I was like, I want to talk about because the whole record's about like being okay with how you turned out. And
Yeah.
despite how like a lot of going through a lot of bad things, and I was like, I can't really talk about who I am as a person without talking about growing up in like a very weird religious kind of like environment. So the song's called Chairman Drive because that was the street that the church I grew up at was on. Which is
Mm,
funny because I get my hair cut like a 40-second like drive from the old church, which is just funny.
dang.
Um,
Yeah.
but I I wanted to like write about that and talk about it because I feel like the only way to truly understand me and for me to understand myself, I kind of have to reconcile with a lot of those things and kind of be okay that like a lot of that stuff happened. And
Yeah.
it's one of the things that like I feel like if had I grown up not in that, I would have felt like I could relate to more people. So I feel like I had to kind of confront those demons kind of head on.
Mm,
And my one of my favorite things about that song is the one line, if I become your enemy, no, I am your enemy because all I've ever known is the truth. There was this
mm-hmm.
giant banner at the church that says, "If I do, I become your enemy because I tell you the truth." There's some like scripture in Galatians, and it's
Yeah.
the most like condescending, the most like gaslighty thing. It's like, oh, you don't like what
Yeah.
I'm saying? It's because it's the truth and you're ignorant.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and that just perfectly sums up that what it was to be in that environment. It was
Yeah.
just surrounded by people on these high horses that think like that,
And
and
think
so
like one another too, right? Like the
exactly,
the
yeah.
the ability for it to become this echo chamber, and you're a kid and you're already an outsider and you're in this place, and like
Mhm.
people are just echoing back this like, no, you're wrong because we know the truth,
Exact,
and
yeah.
it's a total mind fuck.
And they always like they kind of created this environment where everybody that came out of that didn't stay in that are so like paranoid, untrusting, and just feel
Mm,
so alone because what they do is like they make you feel like no one outside of there is going to love you like we do.
right.
And that's kind
Yeah.
of what the song is. I feel like
That's what
it
a
touched
cult
on
is,
all those things.
baby.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
It's something I still like. I'm 29. I still grapple with that stuff. I haven't been in that building since I was 11,
Yeah.
but it's
And
still
it's
something I
but
grapple
that
with.
building is still in you, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and
Yeah.
it's I kind of wanted to really delve into that, and it was like a very hard song to write. Like I feel
Mm,
like it was one of those songs. I think I've only written like maybe a few Black Hippie songs where like I like was like gutted and
yeah.
like needed to be like held after, and
Yeah.
this was one of them where it was like I wanted to be so extremely honest. I'm not hiding behind no metaphors. I'm
Yeah.
not like coming up with any kind of clever quips. I'm like what I'm feeling is what I'm feeling, and I'm going to say that as
Yeah.
direct as humanly possible.
Yeah. Now somebody please come hug me and stop the bleeding.
Exactly.
Yeah. Damn. Well, it's an amazing song. I'm going to put it on. I've got a playlist, Music.gay, on Spotify. And I also think everyone should go to your site and see all the other songs that are around it because it's an amazing album. But yeah, as far as the actual like recording and demoing, I guess the recording part of it, like where did you go from here? How did you get from this thing that you wrote in kind of isolation a little bit to this fully produced thing with beautiful horns on it and all?
So I had my drummer kind of like me and him kind of jammed it a little bit, and I recorded his drums over it, and then I was like, all right, let's figure out what we're gonna do because all I had was just the strumming of the chords and the drums, and I wanted to beef it up a little bit before I sent it to my bass player to write something. So I was like, all right, like I love synth. I was like, let me throw some synth on here, and that's when I came with
Mm-hmm.
the like a really distorted synth because that like the synth on there is from the demo. Like I never even
Yeah.
retracked it. Like it was
Yeah.
just like really distorted and kind of uncomfortable. And I kind of wanted to kind of resemble like church organs, but like
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
more like abrasive. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? To kind of really
Yep.
like put you
Totally.
into that kind of mindset. And then once I added that, I was like, I know I want that third verse to like punch, but I don't know what I want to do. And then
Mm-hmm.
as I was like fooling around with it, I was like, oh, what if I put horns on this song? So
Mm-hmm.
then I took my synth and like ran it through like some pedals to like make it sound like less crappy. And
Yeah.
then I wrote the dun, dun, na, 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 and I was like, oh, let me write a harmony on like another horn part to harmonize with that. And then
Mm-hmm.
I need to get to actual horn players to play. And I think that's going to make
Yeah.
it kind of like cinematic and kind of make it more of like a movie as opposed
It
to
was
just
a
like a
total
song.
stroke of genius.
Yeah,
Like that. It sounds so good.
it's because like as I said like earlier, like I didn't grow up in a musical household, but like my dad and my brother are like graphic designers. My brother was a film major, and a lot of like in
Mm-hmm.
our family, at least on the Shaw side, because my granddad worked for like Stax. He produced like the Watt Stax like documentary or whatever. So like in my family, it's just like film and like visuals and art and stuff like that, but no music. So I only really when I was growing up, the only way I ever conceptualized art was through like visual mediums. Like none of it was like
Mm.
sound based at all.
Yeah.
So every time I approach songs, even to this day, I always think about it from like a cinematic standpoint and like imagine it and like try to create the scene through just like the sonics of the song. So I really wanted
Yeah.
to like really bring that to the forefront of this song because it is like I feel like my life story is in that song. So I was like, let's
Yeah.
make it more cinematic. And then adding those horns just made it like hit that much more like
Yeah.
to be more of like a soundtrack instead of just like a rock song traditionally and stuff like that.
Yeah. Cool. Well, it's a great song. I think it's so cool, and I'm excited for people to listen to it. I want to move into this is the so we did the music part, and then this is music.gay. So we're gonna call this the dot part. And usually we just riff here, but there's a couple things that you'd mentioned that I just want to briefly get into, and it's something I want to call like home core, which is
All right.
gardening, fermentation, making your own fresh pastas, baking bread, whatever it does. I think it's things that like a lot of people started in the pandemic, but it sounds like you're still carrying that torch. What prompted this for you? Why all of these beautiful things?
So I had I just had a weird upbringing. So my mom
Yeah.
really wanted to make sure me and my brother knew how to cook. Because
Oh,
in
it's
her mind,
cool.
like yeah, we're from the South. So in my mom's mind,
Yeah.
she just like was terrified that like we were gonna marry the wrong person just because they cooked for us, kind of
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
she was like, "You were going to learn how to cook." So I started cooking when I was like probably 8 or 9. I started was when I started cooking. So I always just had like a
Wow.
love of cooking. And then like when I got
Yeah.
older, I don't have hobbies. Like me and my dad are two intensive people to have hobbies.
Uh-huh.
So my dad's always like, you need to find a hobby before you get my age. So I was
Yeah.
like, all right, let's go back into like cooking. And then gardening is more of like a thing I did my whole life. We had a garden, which is funny. We
Yeah.
were like in this like not great neighborhood in Memphis, and we just had this giant garden in the backyard. So like
Yeah.
I gardened a lot also. So it was like those two things. I was like, oh, like I need hobbies. Let's just do the two things I've been doing for like since I was a kid that I have always loved doing. So that's kind of
Nice.
like what got me into it. And like my girlfriend is like a very intense person also. So she's just like loves that kind of stuff. She's like cooking. Let's sit here and let's find the most 5 hour long
Yeah.
intensive New York Times recipe,
Yeah.
and we're just gonna do we're just gonna do it.
We're going to
So
take a
I feel like
food journey together.
exactly. So
Yeah.
I feel like it was and it I don't know, I kind of also wanted to kind of find something that like I could do when I'm home, because like
Yep.
as you know, like being on the road, when you go
Yep.
home, there's nothing but existential crisis for a while. You know what I mean? You're like,
You're
oh
like,
my
oh,
god,
why
like
am I
what am I
not on the
doing?
road? Why don't I have a show today? Am I supposed to be doing
Exactly.
something?
So I kind of wanted to like create an environment where I have things to look forward to when I go home.
Nice.
And so now I have like, oh, I have the garden to take care of, or I have like cooking or things like that. Or like for a while we were making kombucha. For a while
Mm-hmm.
we made like a little ginger bug to make like probiotic sodas. Like just anything that just like is
Cool.
silly and stupid, but like
And
is
fun.
fun. You know,
Stuff that you
exactly. You
can
know,
tend to. Yeah.
yeah.
You had also mentioned trivia.
Oh yeah.
I have a soft spot in my heart. I'm a trivia master at a local tea temple. Shout out to Wu
Hell
Wei
yeah.
Tea Temple. I had a breakthrough the other day. I took 6 grams of psilocybin mushrooms, and I realized that one of the reasons that like I'm personally in love with trivia is because facts were something that I could hold on to when I was in an environment that was extremely gaslighty and and
Yeah.
like kind of shaky and everything. But
Mhm.
facts were like unchanging, and they were provable, and it felt like a safe space for me to like be able to memorize facts. I'm wondering if that tracks for you at all, or if you have another
It's
route into
it's
trivia.
it's it's kind of similar. So I love trivia, and I'm really good at trivia according to
Mm-hmm.
like my friends, because when you grow up an outsider, when you hang around other people you don't really know, you have to be able to like figure out what people are talking about and what they're
Yeah.
referencing, even if you
Yeah.
don't know the pop culture. So I I don't always know the answer to the question. It's just like I have trained my brain for years of being an outsider, of being like, okay, I heard this question, or I heard like whatever conversation they're having. I think I saw a tweet that slightly alluded to this. So that should be enough for me to
Mm-hmm.
construct this whole narrative of completely understanding what they're talking about without actually knowing what
100%.
they're talking about. So it's like I
Yep.
know like so much pop culture stuff that I've never watched, never seen, have no reference to it other than just like knowing enough about it because I hear people talk about it, and that's my way into a
Yeah.
conversation when I was younger. You know, it's like
Yep.
I was the weird
Yep.
homeschool religious kid. I don't know anything, but like I had to figure it out and pretend to in order to like try to
Yeah.
have friends and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's like this sort of like chameleon esque thing that develops in the neurodivergent brain where it goes,
Yeah,
I see people. They're connecting. They're connecting around this particular thing. I don't really know this thing, but I know some things about this thing. Therefore, I will connect with these people with these
exactly.
things. Yeah. No, that's
Yeah,
great. Cool. All right. So let's move. You said you're currently are you living with your girlfriend?
yeah. So it's me, my girlfriend, my drummer, and his girlfriend, and yeah, it's like the four of us in this like house near the university. We like live next to a bunch of frat houses right near the
Jesus.
university, because
Wild.
they'll never noise complain you. So you can record, you can
Yeah.
rehearse. No
Yeah.
one's gonna noise complain you. But
True.
every
Because
Saturday night you
yeah.
do hear like all
Yeah, of
the fucking
course.
time.
Just like, yeah. you're non-binary, you're bisexual, you're a black person, you're making indie music in the South. I think it's safe to say that you don't really fit the heteronormative white colonial
Never.
patriarchy bullshit script very well. How has this informed, kind of how you find your others, and how has it informed the stuff that you're creating just in general, whether it's music or otherwise?
Well, I feel like if you're it, if you're a member of like any kind of marginalized group,
Uh-huh.
you have this deep understanding of how unfair the world is.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's some people that have to like that exist in the exact box they're supposed to exist in, that they have to read
Mm-hmm.
all these articles and find ways to be able to empathize with like all the other people that are suffering.
Yeah.
And I feel like I it sucks sometimes because like I have like so many issues and like don't fit any of the norms, but I'm thankful for it because it's the only way I think, based on like how I grew up and stuff like that, I would be able to completely understand other people
Yeah.
that are in these marginalized groups. You know what I mean? Because I grew up in an environment that was very like misogynistic, like homophobic,
Yep.
like really bad. And I
Yeah.
feel like I'm very glad that I turned out like this, because had I not had all these things that kept me from fitting in that box, I don't think I would have been. I would grew up in an environment that would have made me conducive enough to like understand
Yeah.
suffering.
Totally. And I think there's two paths in that, right? Like
Hmm.
some people take the path of kind of like being the next iteration of that thing. So
Yeah.
misogyny, heteronormativity, any of those things that are like just out there and ugly and not kind and not good. They then grab that and they go, oh, and they internalize it, they twist it,
Hmm.
and then they become the next iteration of that thing. And the other path you could take, and of course there's a million shades in
Yeah.
between, but the other path you can take is to use that to empathize and be like, wow, something really hurt these people. They feel this way. That's fucked up. I don't want to
Hmm.
feel that way. I need to find a different way to be. And so you kind of like turn around and you do the exact opposite of that, which is to use that pain that you've experienced in order to empathize with other people and accept and allow and permit all of those other people to be even more themselves around you rather than tell them who they shouldn't be.
Exactly. And I feel like it took years for me to kind of like understand who I am
Mm-hmm.
and come to terms with things. You know what I mean? Because I feel like I've lived a very long life of
Mm-hmm.
like burying things and
Yeah.
not actually confronting them to figure out like who I was as a person. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I feel like it took like becoming a dad for me to be like, oh, I need to figure out every part of myself because I have a child that I
Yeah.
have to like teach things and help understand things and like be around and like help raise. And I
Yeah.
feel like that kind of like forced me to be like, okay, like I need to stop kidding myself and saying that I'm straight, because like I've never fit into that box my entire life,
Yeah.
to the point where when I came out to my mom, she was like, "Yeah, I kind of like figured." And I was like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
duh, nigga, like obviously, like I." And the same with like being non-binary. It was like the only way I could feel comfortable with myself.
Yeah.
This actually happened. Like I feel like I came to terms with all this stuff on our first major tour. It was like a
Oh, wow.
6 week tour,
Cool.
and it's
Because
in
you were being
2021.
seen so much or what?
It was more like I was completely out of everything that I knew was my element. So I
Yeah.
had to sit there and be like, okay, who am I? And through that, I was like, I need to be honest with myself and stop avoiding all these questions, because I still have that part of that Chairman Drive stuff still ingrained in me. Even the
Yeah.
fact I'm extremely, I've always been a progressive person and things like that. There was still part of me where I was like, I'm okay with everybody else's stuff, but I'm not ready to confront my own.
Yeah.
And it took being
Yeah.
away from home for 6 weeks to be like, oh, like I have never fit this box. And the
Yeah.
second I like accepted that, I was substantially happier. Like I'm still a
Yeah.
depressed person, but like
Yeah.
that has stuff to do with just like my brain, as opposed to like me trying to force myself to
Yeah.
live a version of a life that I was told to live when I was a child, to the point where like my parents don't even still want me to live that life. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
the only person that was forcing me to do that was myself, and my unwillingness to accept myself for who I truly was.
Yo, that's sick. I'm so glad that you were able to have that kind of recognition and like to find who it is that you needed to step into being. Do you feel like there's ever moments where you're still sort of like juggling your identities or like code
Oh, for sure.
switching or yeah.
For sure. I feel like um I I do that like as an artist and as a person too. It's like,
Hmm.
you never you never have it all figured out. Like
No.
I think that's like the human experience, is trying to figure it out until you
Yeah.
die.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm still struggling with things, I'm still grappling with things. I'm still like I still code switch too with that kind of stuff. Like
Yeah.
I feel like as a black person, like code switching is like innate in you.
Yeah.
And then as like any kind of queer identifying person in the South, that's also deeply ingrained in you because
Totally.
it's like it's safety. You know, you're trying not to like get hurt out here. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
sometimes like oh like we're playing in Texas, maybe I won't wear a crop top today, or
Yeah. Yeah.
we're going here like I have to go to a church thing for my parents. Let me not paint my nails, or maybe let's
Yeah.
like take one of my earrings out. You know, like things like that. Like
Yeah.
I still do that sadly, and I
And how does it
feel that's
feel when
something
you do that?
I feel like kind of crappy. But
Yeah.
it's like it's just one of those things. It's like it's a process. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You gotta keep pushing to you have to keep fighting for yourself. You know,
Yeah. Yeah,
and I
totally.
feel like when I turned 29 last month, and I feel like that has been like an extra little boost of me being like, this is just who I am. You know,
Yeah.
like who cares, man? Like I
Yeah.
can
You don't
fight.
want me
It's
to wear
fine.
earrings? Fuck all y'all. I won't come to your
Yeah,
church. It's cool.
it's like I can fight. I don't care.
Yeah. No, I get that. What do you think is the parts of you that you're most vocal about when it comes to queerness, when it comes to identity and being non-binary? Do you think it's important for you to be really open about that stuff, or
I
it's just
I
kind of
think
who
it
you
is.
are?
I think it is. I feel like black people in general, like I feel like a lot of like homophobia is like ingrained in us due
Hmm.
to like there's a lot of like serious reasons why, like a lot of systemic reasons
Sure.
why, a lot of leftover stuff from slavery and things like that. Like there's a lot of like reasons why, like it's
Yeah.
not just like a oh I hate gay people kind of thing. It's like there's systemic reasons why we've ended up the way we are.
Yeah.
But I feel like it is up to people that have any kind of platform, even if it's small or large, as a black person, and if you are any kind of queer identifying person, you have to be vocal in some capacity because there's so many closeted kids that need that beacon. Same like Kid Cudi for me was like the first person to show me I had depression. So it's
Hmm.
like I need to be that for like all these little kids that like maybe don't know, at least like high schoolers that like don't know their identity, don't know how they feel about themselves, don't know how they feel about their own like gender identity or their
Hmm.
sexuality. It's like they don't understand that yet. So you have to, if you have any kind of platform, you have to be something. Even if it's just you being honest with like I will have it all figured out. I never
Yeah.
pretend like I do. I always say I don't. But the fact I'm questioning these things within myself, it's giving people an example to be like, you can also question this within yourself. It is
Yeah.
okay to do that. Look at me. I'm someone you look up to in some capacity because you like my music. Like I'm showing you it is okay to question these things, whether your parents don't
Yeah.
agree, your environment, any like your teachers, anybody. If they don't agree, I'm the person that agrees. I
Yeah.
think it's okay that you feel like this. So I
Well,
have to be vocal in any kind of capacity because like,
totally.
it's paying things forward.
And for some people, it even just shows that these are questionable things, right? Like
Hmm.
some people might grow up and just feel off and they don't understand why they feel off. And like it may be your music that's the first thing that they hear that has anything to do with queer culture. And then
Hmm.
they hear an interview or they hear something with you and they're like, oh shit, is that what I'm feeling? Right? Like it even just brings into mind the possibilities that things are different and they're changing, and like
Hmm.
what you grew up hearing in your homeschool in the South and the Seventh Day Adventists, like whatever your particular little niche of like fucked up brainwashing is, which we've all
Yeah.
got it one way or
Yeah.
another. Like
Exactly.
whatever that particular thing is, like that's not the whole world. That's one little small, very narrow-minded vision of the world. And there's like
Hmm.
such a bigger world out there to be experienced, and for us to like have fun questioning. It's a sandbox.
Yeah.
It's a playground. Like we're all trying to figure it out. And if we can be kind while we're doing it, then bully for you. We're actually going to have a good time
Yeah.
and this world might stand a chance. But yep, sorry. Hi, I'm back. We could step down off our soapboxes now, but it's 100% true. I think it's totally great. Is there a specific vision of the future that you have for like for queer kids, for queer people, for black
I
people? Like,
I I feel like I just want like people to feel like they could be comfortable in their own skin and to realize the reason you
mm-hmm,
feel uncomfortable is because you're blocking parts of yourself to conform to
mm-hmm,
something that was never you in the first place.
yeah,
So all I want is people just like be themselves, live their lives,
yeah,
and try to create an environment where they can work those things out for themselves. Because like no one, I feel like so many people aren't allowed to like figure this kind of stuff out because it's so
totally,
taboo to talk about. It's so weird to talk about. But it's like everybody deserves that moment in their life to question these things within
totally,
themselves and figure things out. So I just want to like if anything I do the rest of my life, if I could just do that for one person, just give
Yeah.
them the opportunity to like figure things out for themselves, and like I think I did my job. That's
Yeah.
all I want to do,
Yeah.
honestly.
That's so cool. Yeah. To be Kid Cudi for someone, right?
Exactly, because I
Yeah.
mean he was that for me. It's my job to like be that for
Yeah.
someone else.
Yeah, it's
And
it's
it's just a
passing it
cycle.
along. Yep,
Yeah.
totally. And it's there's the bad cycles. There's the dad who beats his kid, and that kid beats their kid, etc.
Hmm.
And then there's the good cycles where someone encourages someone and they lift someone else up, and it's like that's what the world is. That's what the universe
Yeah.
is, right? It's this yin and this yang, and these things are you see one and the other, and like it's this constantly evolving thing. But I think the more that
Hmm.
we can evolve towards lifting one another up, the better things are.
Yeah.
And not everyone is going to have that opportunity, right? Like we
Yeah.
want everyone to be able to step into who they are, but for some people that means death,
Yeah.
like
Oh, exactly.
it's crazy. This world's crazy, man. All right.
Yeah. It's yeah.
Damn. Okay. So let's talk about, now that we're kind of envisioning the world a little bit, let's talk about dreams, right? What's a, what's your biggest dream that you have for your life personally?
I I just want to make art, impactful art at a high level
Mm-hmm.
that has some kind of cultural significance.
Say more. What do you mean high level?
So I feel like I'm trying to find a way to say this without being
Mm-hmm.
like
No,
cocky as
do
shit.
it.
I I'm good at what I do. I want to be in these conversations. I want to be like nominated for a Grammy, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to make like I want to be like the next Donald Glover, the next Tyler the Creator. I want to be like
Hell yeah.
at this level of creating things that shape culture, that shape like how people view things and things like that. Because like I want to make stuff that has an impact. You know what I mean? I feel
Mm-hmm.
like this world, as we were saying, this world sucks. Everything kind of sucks right now,
Yeah.
and I feel like it's my job. It's like my calling to
Literally.
create
Yeah.
art to make it a little less sucky or to
Yeah.
help things get better in any kind of capacity. So I
Mm-hmm.
just want to like make art that matters, you know what I mean, at a high level,
Yeah.
not just like matters at like a local level or matters in like a niche group. I want things to matter in a big sense so I can have a bigger
Mm-hmm.
impact because I feel like no one is looking out for so many marginalized people.
Totally.
And so many people say they're like they care about it, but then they get a little bit of money and a little bit of capitalism and then they just lose themselves in it. And I
Yeah.
know that's never going to be me. I'm always going to be myself and true to what I do. So it's like it's my job knowing that and I'm good at what I do. I need to be in that upper echelon to do what these people have not and do what people constantly fail to do.
Yeah. Cool. That is a big dream. And
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely not easy.
go for it. It's
I
achievable.
definitely did. I definitely didn't pick anything like some people are just like I just want to be a
I want a
manager
house.
at a
I want a car.
exactly.
Yeah.
Got my 2.5 kids in the
Yeah.
suburbs. Like I wish I could be that. Like if that could
Yeah.
be me,
Yeah.
I it's just never going to be me. Never was, and
Yeah.
it's just everybody's got their thing.
I feel like that's been across the board with all the musicians I've talked to. They've all had this sense of like, if I could do something else, I would. Like
Yeah,
it's like
yeah,
music chooses us, right? Like, what are
yeah.
you gonna do? Okay, so what's a dream that you've already achieved? Small dream, big dream,
Um, touring, honestly.
touring. Yep,
I never like I toured Europe last year. I never thought that would happen. I always wanted that to happen, but like I
sick.
feel like I was one of those people that like I didn't plan on living this long. Like I was just like, no, I'm not gonna. I wasn't planning on living past 25. So the fact
Yeah,
I did that was already pretty crazy. And then I was like, if I do, I won't make it to 30, but I'm a year from 30, and I'm definitely
yeah.
gonna make it. I'm gonna quote the old Southern people, Lord willing, I'm gonna
Lord
make it to
willing.
30.
Yeah.
So, but I feel like touring is like a dream that like never thought I would get. Like people knowing who I was. I signed autographs in Europe. That's
Hmm.
crazy. I
Yeah.
never thought that would ever be like a thing that would ever happen to me. I never thought anyone would care about what I do. So I feel like that level of dream of being able to tour and people care, I never thought would happen. And it's
Yeah.
like it's
Well,
one
I'm
of those
glad
things
it
that like
has.
I never like I don't think I'll ever like I don't know, I think process it,
Yeah.
or like sit down and be like, whoa, I'm actually doing that one thing I actually always wanted to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, cool. Is there anything that you would tell little you about like what it feels like or what it means to be a musician?
That's a good question, honestly. Honestly, I don't. All I would tell my younger self, honestly, about anything I'm doing, I would just be like, "Hey, don't listen to anybody. Don't let anyone tell you this is stupid. Don't let anyone tell you to write songs like this or do
Yeah.
this. Do whatever you want to do because you are going to be right a lot for a
Yeah.
while where everyone said you weren't going to be right.
Yeah.
And that's like the weirdest thing I think that like I've experienced like when I was like a lot younger, even younger as a musician and younger as a kid, like sometimes you're right
Mm-hmm.
even when the person that seems like they're supposed to be right, the whatever the adult figure,
Yeah.
whatever the mentor figure, they think they're right. But
Yep.
old people don't always know what is best
No.
in terms of like the now. Not saying that in like a disrespectful way. I respect my elders.
Right. Right. Right.
I love my you know what I mean? But
You're
like
from the South. I get it.
yeah, exactly. But like I think I would tell my younger self that is like don't listen to any nigga. Like you
Yeah.
know what you're doing, trust it, and just keep doing whatever the fuck you want to do.
Yeah. Well, because nobody's gonna know you better than you know you,
Exactly.
right? Ever.
Yeah.
So, same thing. Is there something you'd tell little you about being queer?
I all I would tell myself would be like nothing you're doing is wrong. I feel like I was
Mm.
one of those kids that like, you know, they call you gay for everything, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I was one thing I would smell my hands a lot when I was a kid. Like I
Uh.
like the smell of soap, so I would just like smell my hands.
Uh-huh.
And I got called like the F slur a lot for that.
Yeah.
And like there were a lot of things, moments like that throughout my like young childhood of things like that, where it's like you were constantly being called like gay and a
It's
derogatory term
always
or
for
like
the
an F slur.
weirdest shit
It is.
too, right?
It's never anything like it's like
You're like standing and you're like leaning a little bit too much on one hip and they're
I
like
got that all the
faggot
time.
and you're like because I'm standing? Like what?
Yeah, it's literally like that. I would just tell them like, hey, like what you're doing is fine. Like, first off, you're gonna be hot in your 20s. Like
Yeah.
everyone's like a lot of people are gonna want to fuck you. Like
Yeah.
guy, girl, like a lot of people are gonna want to fuck you. Like do
Let
whatever
him.
you want to do. Yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah.
chill, bro. Like you know what I mean? Because I feel like I don't know. I wish someone would have told me that like when I was like younger. Like, hey, bro, like that's they shouldn't be saying that to you.
Yeah.
Don't internalize that. Be okay with all your weird mannerisms.
Yeah.
That's fine. You can put your hands on your hips if you stand, if that's a way that
Yeah.
you want to stand. You can smell your hands. Soap
Yeah.
smells amazing. You know
Hey,
what I
you
mean?
can smell your hands. If you
Yeah,
learn
like
anything today, you can sniff your hands whenever you want. Embrace your inner fag. Sniff your hands.
to the point like I still like like we'll be on tour and like we're at someone's house and like my girlfriend will be like she's like, oh man, did you smell that soap? It's so good. And I'm like, oh my god, like looks around, like smells hands. That soap does smell good, and just keep it pushing.
Awesome. Okay, I want to jump into lightning round. We're getting towards the end here. So I'm just gonna bang some questions at you. Number one, where do you go when you die?
Ooh, man. Oh man. Whoa, that is ooh, that's heavy.
Yep.
I I don't really know how I feel about religion currently. So I feel like my current understanding is I feel like I don't know. I'll yeah. I don't know. Maybe heaven, maybe hell, or maybe nothing. I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah.
That's honestly my plan for the next record is to just figure this religion shit out.
Oh,
So
good. Yeah,
yeah,
congratulations. If you
that's
get
my
that
plan.
done, there's your Grammy right there.
Yeah.
And
So
maybe a Nobel
honestly,
Peace Prize and maybe a few other things while you're at it. Yeah. Um, is there a God?
I believe there's a God. I don't know if we understand who he truly is, but I feel like there is some kind of divine being. I feel like there has to be. Because shit, man, there's got to be some hope somewhere. If not, we're all gonna fucking die in a nuclear holocaust, and then fucking roaches are gonna take over the planet.
Might happen anyway.
Yeah, honestly,
Can anyone be a musician?
I think yes, I think anyone can be a musician. I don't think everybody can be an artist, but I think anyone can be a musician.
Cool. Do you really believe that anyone is 100% straight?
No, no, there's no like. I feel like if we just had an honest conversation about sexuality as like a culture, we would realize that everybody's a little gay.
Yeah.
Like you don't realize you're like, oh, I just love these like Ryan Riddle movies. I just love the Deadpool movies. Ryan Riddle's just such a charismatic guy. It's because you're kind of gay for him. Like, be honest with yourself. That's cool. That's okay. That's cool. You know what I mean?
It's
Like,
totally cool.
I remember when I was in college and I was definitely like, I'm totally straight, but like Jaden Smith, just like something about his fashion. No, nigga, you're kind of gay. It's okay. Like everybody's a little gay. I think that's like, especially like anybody. All I think all the boomers are like way more than a little gay. I think they're
Oh
just
yeah.
like, I think like all boomers are like 70% gay and don't realize it. But
That's a hot
yeah,
take right there.
everybody's a little gay.
Yeah.
Have to be.
Love it. Okay. What's your favorite song?
Ooh, shit. Favorite song of all time? Probably. You know what? I think I have a definitive answer, honestly, because I think this song like changed how I viewed music. "Human Sadness" by Julian Casablancas and the Voids. That song is a 10-minute song about the stages of grief, and it is weird, it is abrasive, and it is like that. Listening to that song when I was 19, like it was like it's like unlocked a part of my brain where like I
Mm,
understood music. I was like, oh no, I like that was what got me into that was like my springboard into like so many different genres was listening to that one song.
yo, cool. Love that. What's your favorite book?
Favorite book? Ooh, probably the autobiography of Malcolm X. I feel like is like I think a book that really shaped how I like shaped my entire like post high school. I read it like
Mm,
my I think junior senior year of high school. No, so
yeah.
senior year of high school. And I feel like had I not read that book, I don't think I would have. I grew up very radical. Like my parents are very radical people,
Hmm.
so I feel like I grew up very like radical and like pro black. But I feel like that was like the springboard into me choosing that on my own instead of like inheriting that.
Nice. Nice. After that beautiful answer, here's this question. What's your favorite color?
Favorite color? Ooh, probably burgundy. Honestly,
Nice.
I have my burgundy back. Like I feel like if I
Yeah.
get anything, it's always like a burgundy something, like a beanie, backpack. Like I love
Yeah.
burgundy.
Cool. What's your favorite flavor?
Favorite flavor? Ooh, favorite flavor, favorite flavor. Man, favorite flavor. You know what? I always like any bit of lime. You know what?
Oh,
Like
nice.
I feel like
Like a key lime
lime.
pie?
Oh yeah, I'll fuck up anything with lime. Honestly, like I'm definitely like the lime in the beer. Like
Uh-huh.
I'll add lime to anything. Honestly, and sometimes I just like sip like mezcal or tequila on the rocks with a little bit of lime juice. Honestly,
Yeah.
so probably
Yeah.
lime maybe.
Sick. Do you have a word of the year?
Word of the year. Honestly, I feel like my word of every year is nigga. Honestly, it's just it's. I hate it's one of my like as I grew up in the South like
Yeah.
it's just a word that refers to so many different things. It's like the ultimate word. It's
It's
like
like
I
what
can
John
refer to.
is in Philly.
It is. It is. It's
Yeah.
literally like it's. Oh yeah, we have. It's so funny. John's Philly because Memphis we have John. That's our
Oh,
John
nice.
is
Junt?
John. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's either John or Ho. Like oh that
Yeah.
Ho over there, that John.
Yeah. Bring
Uh,
that over here.
yeah, exactly. But honestly, it's gonna be nigga. I'm sorry, mom. It's just I use it all the time. It's like
Yeah.
it's a reaction. The way depending how you inflect it, depends
Uh-huh.
on like it just it works. It
It's a
works.
very versatile word.
It's also my superpower. Like not everyone can say it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Fuck, marry, kill, but you have to choose them.
Okay. Oh, fuck, Mary kill. I'll do the cast of the bear. So I'm gonna marry Sid. Fuck Harmy. Kill. What was the pastry guy? He's played by Lionel. I'm gonna kill him just because like during that the next last episode of season one where
Spoiler alert.
they're the oh wait have you not seen it?
I haven't seen it, but just in
Oh no
general for
okay
listeners, spoiler alert.
he kind of pissed me off because they're in the middle of a rush and he was talking about he made this donut and as like a former food service worker if someone did that to me I would punch them in the face.
Uh-huh.
So I feel like I would kill him even though I love him as a character and he's great. His development
Love
in
it.
season two is beautiful,
The
but
donut conversation got him killed.
yeah sadly
That's what you get,
yeah.
bud. That's what you get. Okay. We're going to jump into writing a line of a song. The song goes, this is just one line of a song written by each of the previous guests so far.
Okay.
God is an echo of your thoughts. God is the ocean and the blue raindrops. Come with me, the sky is getting dark. Tomorrow never is too far. Verse 1. Idols are poisoning your thoughts. Real is what you make it, and it's been here all along. There's no extra credit for suffering, so live it up. This life is your only one. That's verse 2.
Okay.
And then take my hand is the start of the chorus. So you're kind of like line 2 of the chorus.
Ooh, I kind of like the first thing I thought of, like, take my hand, peel the polish off my nail.
Fuck yeah. Love that. So visual. Done.
Cool.
That's so good.
We were already talking about nail polish. Like, oh yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah, that's so good. Blvck Hippie, peel the polish off my nails. Okay. That's so good. I love that. Nice. All right. So if this podcast had a slogan, what would it be?
Good vibes, better hair.
Truth. Good vibes, better hair. Nice. All right. Is there anything else that you want to add?
I think I'm good, honestly. This was fun, honestly. This is great. This made my day, honestly.
Cool.
I was a little sleepy. This kind of energized me a bit.
Yeah. Good. Well, we've come to the end of yet another delightful episode of Music.gay. You can connect with us on Instagram at music.dotgay. It's all spelled out, music.gay. And email us at music.gay@gmail.com. Also all spelled out. You've heard Josh talk. Now go hear them rock by visiting BLVCKHIPPIE blackhippie.com. Check out their brand new record, Basketball Camp, on their site, and do everyone a favor by ordering a copy. You can even possibly pick up vinyls at the end of the summer.
Yes.
Maybe? Yes.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Visit Josh on Instagram at BlackHippie901, BLVCKHIPPIE 901. That again, Memphis area code. And do everything you can to support all gay music, support straight music, support music in general, support everyone you can support. Have yourself a wonderful week and a wonderful life. And we'll be back in a couple weeks with another episode. I will see you then. Thank you, listeners. And thank you once again, Josh. Much love. Appreciate you.
Oh, yeah.